already. I regret everything.
Please stand by.
Well, hello there. Welcome to this, I guess, Enchanted Forest side chat about Pathfinder. I have decorated the chair accordingly, and we're going to talk about something that a lot of you helped me do. If you've watched videos on my channel before, you know that I like playing D&D. And one of my favorite things about playing D&D is building characters. That being said, I'm a lot less familiar with Pathfinder. I've only ever built one other character in Pathfinder before. And so for this one, I was invited onto a friend's Twitch stream. And I thought that since, the people I would be asking to go tune into that are you fine folks, that I would get you guys involved in trying to design what character I will play on that show. By the way, all the information on that Twitch stream, as well as any dates or anything like that, will be listed in the description below. I don't have all of the details right now, but I do have a link to the place where you will be able to watch it whenever I do have the days that I will be there. Cool. So here's my thought process. I thought I would get all of you on Instagram to help me build this character. And I'm using Instagram because it's one of the easier places to do polls, and it's where I get the most engagement overall in polling places. And so I thought, let's do it over there. And in case you didn't know, my Instagram, my Twitter, my YouTube, my everything is all the same. I am Amariebythesea, every place on the internet. So if you ever want to find me, that's where I am. Cool, self-promo, out of the way. So let's talk Pathfinder and the character that you helped make real. I wanted to kind of let you guys decide all of the key features of this character. So that meant I needed you guys to make the first choice. And by that, I mean, what class was I going to play? So for that, I wanted you to choose whether or not I'm being a magic user or a fighter. And not the fighter class, but like someone who's combat oriented in fisticuffs or weapons, or someone who is oriented into the magic sphere of things. Spoiler alert if this is the first ever video that you've ever watched of me. Generally, I play magic users or like a combo class. So I like paladins, sorcerers, warlocks. Those are my bread and butter. But I thought I would give you the chance to have me play something completely different. So I gave a poll. I should have all of the polls over here if editing Amy is doing her job correctly, which, given the state of our shared consciousness the past few weeks, who knows? You guys, by a pretty strong majority, picked magic user. I'm not really surprised that you did, because if you were watching my videos or watching anything I post on Instagram, it comes across pretty strongly that I lean into the magic, mystical stuff. I mean, the sign off on this channel says it all for you. That was the first thing that I asked, and it was my first question because I was not going to make any background decisions until I knew that choice. So, as a magic class, I went through some of the Pathfinder ones, whether it was the classic classes or whether it was the advanced guide classes. So they're not playtest anymore. They are technically published into the advanced guide for 2E. So we weren't trying any playtest material. But we were going to decide between doing a classic class and a advanced new fancy class. I forget what I labeled it as. It's there. You can see what you chose. Now, the majority of you chose classic. So I'm going to tell you what that means. If you had gone for the advanced guide, we were going to choose between either a witch or a magus. Magus? The witch being a class that I think is just really cool. It's very creepy. It's kind of warlocky in what it does with the patron and everything, and it has a lot more of the creepy factor. And when I naturally lean into things, I tend to go that creepy route. Now, the reason I had to choose between classic or advanced is because I felt if I just put out the option of witch, that just by the nature of the things that I've shown you that I like, that you would have chosen witch, and I wanted to give room for something else and to mix it up a bit. That being said, I probably will try a witch class eventually, but that one is more magic and magic melee based, whereas the magus was more of the hybrid, like I talked about. I like paladins, and paladins have a good amount of here are some spells, here's some hitting things in the face, and it's weird. In video games and stuff, I like playing support classes, but in D&D, I tend to really like to be able to hit something really hard in the face. But enough about my psychological stuff. I thought that if I gave you Witch, you would choose Witch, and it would just be no fun for anybody because it wouldn't really feel like a choice. I wasn't sure between Witch or Magus or our classic choice. So for classic, I always almost play sorcerers or warlocks. Pathfinder doesn't have a warlock specifically. They have aberrant sorcerers and they have the witch class, which kind of vary between which one is more warlock-like for you. And I also want to say, if I'm saying stuff wrong about Pathfinder, I'm sorry. I'm learning, I'm getting used to it and trying to differentiate it from the rules in my mind for Dungeons and Dragons. One of the classic classes, since we were going magic based, that I almost never play is a bard. So I thought that was my only option for classic. I'm sure some people thought I would probably do like a sorcerer or a wizard or something like that, but I was like, you know, if they choose classic, I'm going to step out of my box and try something different for myself. It doesn't hurt that the book had a really cool picture by the bard class that pretty much influenced my entire decision moving forward once we decided that we were going classic. And yes, one day when I play Pathfinder, I will try champion to see if I like it as much as I like paladin, but that's not this day. If you had chosen more of a fighter melee, I probably would have tried working in champion there to like be like a hybrid option. It's not happening this time. So what, pray tell, will our bard be like? The next most important thing when it comes to a character is their ancestry. So Pathfinder calls them ancestries, and I really like leaning into that option. I generally play, I like being a special snowflake. I generally play the non-traditional ancestries. So I like Asamar, I like, you know, Changeling, I like playing anything that will let me. I played, ooh, what was she? She wasn't a giant. She was, but like I like playing the other ancestries. And I felt like with my new learning of Pathfinder and being unfamiliar with different parts of it, I would stick to the book for our ancestries. So to be as classic as possible, we chose between a human or a half-elf. We're staying pretty vanilla with the ancestries here. Next time, so we won't be. I also want to point out that I'm doing this character as a guest on a Twitch stream, so I don't want to build a character that won't work, as well as build a character that feels like I'm there to cause havoc, because I am. But I don't want you to notice it by the character build. I want you to notice it by the character choices. That's my MO. Unassuming chaos. So let's dive into the ancestries that you chose. You chose half-elf. I actually almost never play elves or half-elves or humans, which I feel like is obvious by my previous statements. You chose half-elf, which is really cool. In Pathfinder, the way that it works is that the half-elf gets to choose from both the human traits and human like feats and specialties and all the stuff that goes along with them, as well as the ones from elves. Half-elves in Pathfinder, man, get everything, like everything. Once we chose that, it was pretty much smooth sailing to fully finish up the choices before I had to go in and make this character work. And so with the half-elf stuff, whether it was choosing stuff that was human-based or choosing stuff that was elf-based, I wanted to lean into whatever you guys chose for my muse. So as a bard, I got to pick a muse. I felt like that choice was more important than what feats or traits I took from either ancestry. You got to choose between Maestro, something like that, and Enigma. So you guys chose Enigma by a pretty small margin. At least one of the smaller ones from what we've done so far. Let's revert to this, because I feel like this is where we're starting to get much more Pathfinder specific, and I want to make sure you're understanding what this character is going to be, because it's your fault. So by picking Enigma, we are obsessed with understanding the universe and just uncovering whatever possible. Plus, with this one, we get Bardic Lore as a feat, and we get True Strike, which is pretty cool. But I think it worked for her because our character is a she, I feel like is going to be someone who is just curious. She is curious and wants to see the world and wants to use whatever means that she has to do that. We're gonna lean in to that enigmatic muse. But this character is going to be level 6. So I got to choose a couple different feats. And one of those let me choose a second, that's right, a second muse. Congratulations, people who chose maestro, however you say it. I know someone's yelling at me for trying to pronounce this a specific way, but congratulations because you win too. So yes, we're going to lean into the curiosity and mystery and wanting to discover things about the world, but we're also going to lean into the performance. The whole reason I had Bard as an option, or why it was my classic choice option, was a specific photo in this book about the Bard class. And that was, ooh, can you see her? The dancer. Our Bard is going to be a dancer. Cue the thing from SNL. So I've played a Bard once before and she played a ukulele. That was also a mace. But for this one, I wanted to do a dancer because I want to see how it would translate to be a dancer in a tabletop game that is over Zoom because the world we live in. But I want to see how role-playing wise, I can make that work. That is my challenge to myself. Her musical instrument is going to be the belly dancer skirt thing that has all of the mini symbols things. Man, this has a name. Okay, fine. I will go look up the name. I can't find it. The belly dancer skirts with the little chimes so that when she moves, they make noise, and that is going to be her bardic talent, okay? So once I understood that was the direction where we were going, I was a little bit inspired by Karen Gillan in Jumanji. And so our character's name is gonna be Ruby, because I'm original. As a dancer, I felt like with the second muse, we would lean more into the performance, the trickery, and the ambition that goes along with wanting to discover things like in the Enigma muse. She's going to have the ambition to get it done and to use her skill sets to make it happen. And by skill sets, I mean dancing. But yeah, I just really want to see if it's within my ability and my wheelhouse to translate dancing as your casting thing in a virtual setting. I'm probably gonna hate myself for that. That's okay. We got our muse, and that kind of leads the direction of where this bard is gonna go. So I needed to know, aside from her, exceptional dance skills, what is her weapon? And you are trained in a longsword in this game as a bard, which I thought was interesting. But you also are trained in simple stuff. And one of my favorite things that I've never actually used in a game is a morning star, which is like a mace, but not quite a mace. It's this thing. It's like a mace, but longer and obnoxiously fancy, which I feel like fits Ruby to a T. I feel like she wants the finer things in life for never having them and, convinces the world that she deserves them. It's not based on real life at all. So, what is her weapon? I had you choose between a longsword and a morning star, and it was almost a longsword. For the longest time, I left these up 2 to 3 hours-ish for everyone to get a chance to vote. And for a while, a long while, it was going to be a longsword. And then I went to go take a screenshot and it had switched. It switched to a morning star. And so by the slight skin of an eggshell, Ruby got her morning star. I can tell you the RPer in me is happy. We have Ruby, our dancing, enigmatic, ambitious, talented dancer, and her morning star. All that was left was for me to kind of put it together. And so I was trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to lean into for this character. My gut is to always lean into doing the most damage. But for this, and because what I understand about this character is mostly RP based, and knowing what I do about the characters that are already on this show, I wanted to make her versatile enough to be both a like active fighter character if they need it, as well as a support character in case something happens and we need like a backup that way. So I leaned into all of the feats that let me do more stuff, or lead by ambition, or gave me extra feats or extra spell slots and cantrips. I pushed heavily into making her as like jam-packed, jack of all trades, know things as possible without being a jack of all trades muse. Because somehow I have to try to have it all. And when it came to the ancestry traits, I also leaned more into the human because it actually worked better for where I saw her character coming from. So we have a more human than elf, half elf, who is a bardic dancer, who is ambitious and curious and very, very determined, as well as a master of performance and trickery. So we've hit the portion where I had to make choices without the help of you, which was very sad, to make sure she was a playable character. So we have charisma being my like bombastic stat, and she's not super strong. You know, it's okay. That's the closest we get to a dumb stat for this girl. I was interested to learn that bardic spells are occult spells, so I'm actually pretty familiar with the spells, and I'll leave the spells to a surprise. You know, there has to be something for you to tune in for aside from like seeing my lovely face play some Pathfinder on Twitch. So I'm gonna let you guys see what spells I choose. If you think I should choose a specific spell for a 6th level bard in Pathfinder 2e, leave them in the comments right now, because that's going to be the only chance you get to help me pick some spells. Engagement, people. I need it. I think this is where we will leave Ruby. And if you have any suggestions and anything that you hope to try to see happen while I am on this show, leave them in the comments below, along with any suggestions you have for spells to use. But I think she's going to be fun, and I'm really thankful that you guys helped me do it. It's much more fun in a collaborative sense, and I thought it would just be a really cool experiment to see if jointly we can build an amazing character. So I think that's where we'll leave Ruby for now. I do want to leave some mystery for the actual show. So if you want to show some support for both Ruby and myself and see how she plays and see how this bardic dancer, half-elf, enigmatic, ambitious lady turns out, then please tune in to the League of Amazing Adventurers presented by Tabletop Rolls on Twitch sometime around February 10th. I will have the actual dates as soon as I have them in the description below, and please show your support for them and me and come hang out when that happens. I hope that you come out and see the inevitable chaos that ensues, and hopefully she's a workable character. My fingers are crossed that I will be able to live up to this wonderful performer with my performance. We shall see. If you enjoyed this video, then please think about subscribing down below. I make videos as often as I possibly can. Tends to be like 3 or 4 a month. We're trying different things, and I think that we are a pretty cool bunch of nerds. I don't know how to do this part, but this part I do know how to do. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I have been Amy. You have been wonderful, and I will see you in my next video. Stay magic. Bye. Woo!